to the Deltahead stream. I am James Howell, and tonight we're doing part 11, the final battle in our Village of Shadows run of Resident Evil Village. We got to the beginning of the part where we resume control of Eavan, and just amazed at how everything that feels like it should be uphill after that fight with Moreau winds up being a pretty easy, well, I won't say easy, but pretty even challenge. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to kind of have a similar time with Miranda tonight. And then once that is done, assuming there is still time left on the stream, we typically go for 2 hours, and I've got some Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain that I'm revisiting, so that'll be fun to jump into to kind of fill out that time. But so yeah, excuse me, pre-game show here. Got a couple of... I walked into Scarecrow Video today, and I gotta tell you, it was a wonderful thing to be able to walk into that store. Wonderful experience. Got Sleepy Eyes of Death, which is a samurai movie starring Raizo Ichikawa, who is a favorite. He has a bit part in a Kabuki Actor's Revenge, kind of a comedic role, because he has he can be very animated and has a lot of very big energy, big gestures when he's called upon. But he's also known to some of the first Jidaigeki movies I ever watched, which was the Shinobi no Mono series, where he plays in the first 2 installments the legendary ninja Goemon, and attempting to assassinate what's his name? One of the early shoguns. Oh, it's right on the tip of my brain. I'm sure I'll remember it later. Anyway, yeah, so that series is a lot of fun. Evening Time Zombie, it's good to see you. Hope you made it back home okay. Time Zombie and I had the pleasure of a good hangout and a walk this afternoon. But yeah, so Raizo Ichikawa is going to be a fun guy to revisit. And also this, Street Fighter, which is Sonny Chiba's first, I believe his first movie where he got to sort of flex, pun unintended, but kept, flex his fight choreography skills and special effects, special stunt effects. Oh yes, I am. I am both. Honestly, the meat form is in the other room, and this is a projected visual that I use to keep my online presence fresh while my body rests in its coffin. So, but thank you for confirming that the ruse has worked. In fact. But yeah, no, Sonny Chiba's a lot of fun. Oh man, I think I want to find this excerpt. It's from... Oh, I know the movie. I can see it in my head. He does this thing where it's like a direct sword stab in one of these movies, but he does this sort of weird skewer thing that I had to pause it and actually rewatch it frame by frame to see exactly what the hell he does. And it's so good. I'm going to go back and I'll find that. I'll put that up on Twitter. I think that anybody who enjoys Sonny Chiba or any kind of sort of Dorian Gray, well, actually, I mean, honestly, you could probably do a pretty neat Black Mirror-esque hologram version of Dorian Gray. I don't know, maybe something like with his social media, right? The social media profile ages while he, retains his business, his youth, but yeah, no. So I'll find that. I'll look for that. Otherwise, continuing to read, kind of in step with that theme, Confessions of a Yakuza, which is continuing to be very, very, very picturesque. It's really interesting to see how much you see this picture of sort of like the gang life, gang identity in some of Kurosawa's movies, some of the Jidaigeki ones, where in particular I'm thinking Yojimbo, where Mifune's character Sanjiro walks into town, kind of your Western hero swagger, and there are a bunch of sort of bandits gambling, and they're not called out as like Yakuza per se, but that apparently is where a lot of that sort of like behavior and that sort of like social grouping began. That sort of gambling, and makes a much more central role in this than I would have expected. And also, good evening, Iceman Dan. I realize I'm responding to you without greeting you. So yeah, so this is entertaining, and I do recommend it to anybody who enjoys sort of that period of sort of transition from one version of culture to another. I received a bunch of these. I've got 10 new ones of these today. Not today, but over the past couple of weeks. God bless them, beloved pulp science fiction from the 60s and 70s. And this one has one of my favorite Ray Bradbury short stories, apparently in its first publication, Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And it is a very pleasing feeling to see, I think Bradbury was called the poet of the pulps. And it is wonderful to see some of the first times these stories saw the light of day, and kind of, I don't know, kind of hunker down and kind of put myself back in that mindset of thinking like this is a new discovery. And yeah, of course. There you go. A lot of the, a lot of the art on these is very detailed, very intricate, and let's see if I can find another instance. I guess actually, I don't know if they do that for. They don't do that for every. They don't do that for every story that's in here. So I guess it's pretty a sign of how much they viewed that story as kind of a centerpiece, that they gave it a not merely an illustration but a spread as well. Yes, yeah, he does. He plays a wayward yakuza who is potentially reformable, but ultimately in the end a victim to his excesses. One of these. Actually, that character kind of feels like a Kinji Fukasaku character, which I read a description of Kinji Fukasaku's movies, which for as weird and as different, weird in the sense of weird in the sense of different from each other as they are, the thing that sort of binds them together is they all feature key characters who are unable to change, and whose actions that lead them through the end of the movie are the result of a personality that is sort of rigid and not susceptible to being moved. And that kind of holds out, and I kind of feel like Mifune's character in Drunken Angel kind of gets close to that, except Kurosawa is much more hopeful, I think, and allows that sort of little more flexibility there. But yeah, oh no, I also like this. This is a kind of great cover illustration. And yeah. No, I really like Shimura, Takashi Shimura. His drunken doctor is a really well played sort of like high functioning alcoholic character. So you can see the alcoholism in the way that he behaves and the way that he carries himself, and sort of the outbursts of emotionality. And you can also see the person that addiction that is sort of propping up as a very good heart. So I really like that character because it doesn't do an easy thing of pairing an alcoholism with a character lesson, but with somebody who has a genuinely good heart and whose heart is not inhibited by that habit. Yeah. Excuse me. Another round? No, I have not. I've actually never heard of that before. That is interesting to me because your recommendations have always been spot on. Yeah. So, oh yeah. One of the things about this that I've noticed this with several of these pulps from this era. The advertising game in this is surprising because, let's see, the very first ad that you always get to is this. The Unpublished Facts of Life, which is kind of a secrets entrusted to a few. Let's see, there are some things that cannot be generally told. Things you ought to know. Great truths are dangerous to some, but factors for personal power and accomplishment in the hands of those who understand them. Behind the tales of the miracles and mysteries of the ancients lie centuries of their secret probing into nature's laws, their amazing discoveries of the hidden processes of man's mind, and the mastery of life's problems. Once shrouded in mystery to avoid their destruction by mass fear and ignorance, these facts remain a useful heritage for the thousands of men and women who privately use them in their homes today. And this goes into, the Rosicrucians. They now invite you to share their practical helpfulness of their teachings. And so there's that, and then the back cover advertisement is this: how to get your CPA. This free sample lesson can start you in a high-paid career as accountant, auditor, or CPA. So it just kind of whiplashes back around to evening, Rio. Thank you so much. I'm really glad that you chimed in and said hi. I always appreciate knowing that that folks enjoy it on the VOD, and yeah, thank you very much. That means a lot. I hope you have a good night as well. And if you're able to stick around, please feel free to chime in and chat. Chat's a great group of folks. No, I will check out another round since I am back on an MGS5 kick. My mind is going back to the upcoming director's cut of. Postman, the adventure, Death Stranding. That's it, and Mads Mikkelsen and all that, and sort of comes back around. Other than that, I've got and I've continued to dig back into this Eavan Bolan's The Historians poems, and these are lovely works. Eavan Bolan is. She's an Irish poet, and her poetry achieves the same beautiful, just like bell-ringing clarity of imagery and diction that I associate with other Irish poets like Seamus Heaney, and it manages to simultaneously have a universality to its English that feels accessible, that feels like it could possibly be American. It doesn't feel alien or foreign. Yet at the same time, there is absolutely a place and time that it exists, and a perspective that it has that it owns, and that is a rare thing to find for a reader of my place and time. And we'll share with you 3 stanzas that I like from a poem called "The Lamplighter," and this is referring to the man who would go down the street with a kind of a lit wick, light the gas lamps. Let's see. I read once that when he heard loud whispers and laughter in alleys and hidden doorways, followed by the silence of illicit kisses, he would not stop, he would pass on to other streets where light was needed, leaving behind him the gift of shadows. And I think that's just beautiful. That's just like, the diction is so clear, it sounds like speech, it feels like the kind of rhythm of poetry, and and the imagery is crisp. You can create it in your head, and you create it in your head in such a way that's uniquely yours, and that's a precious gift. So yeah, Eavan Bolan, highly recommend. The Celebration, I will look into that as well. Thank you for all these recommendations. I am very fortunate to have them. So yeah, okay, I think this is a good time to go ahead and get started and see if we can beat Miranda. Oh,